Okay, welcome to episode 3 of Harry and Andrew Have Nothing Better to Do. We're coming at you this week with some Stephen King miniseries. So, is there a good Stephen King miniseries?
I guess you can make the argument that it is okay and maybe The Stand, but typically Stephen King and miniseries, it's not good.
Is the original Stand any good? I thought The Stand. I thought it was.
It's okay.
It was okay.
It's with Molly Ringwald and who's the guy from Forrest Gump who plays Lieutenant Dan? Gary Sinise.
I do not know his name.
Yeah, so it's them two, and then some. Rob Lowe's in it. He plays Nick, the deaf and mute. He's okay.
Rob, see, I'd be okay with that.
But it's long, and of course, just like The Stand, it's just disappointing once they get all together, and the climax is not great. So you can't really blame the show. But it's like ABC or network television. It's going to have the problems with the other ones that we watched. But yeah, I think this unofficially became Stephen King episode because we watched 2 different miniseries and then a few iterations of the same book. So
it was rough.
Yeah.
I think I was about to give up and come up with a different theme after we...
Yeah. Well, it's a shame because the other stuff that we watched, the very little stuff we watched, didn't really give us a whole lot either. They were not great, but just not really memorable.
And we could talk about all the things that are wrong with them for the most part, except for one of them's not bad. But we're going to go ahead and get started, and we'll just start with the 2 different miniseries that we watched. We watched The Langoliers, and we watched The Tommyknockers. Which one do you want to take, Aaron? Which pile of crap did you want to take?
I can talk about The Tommyknockers since you already saw The Langoliers when you were younger. So.
Shovel it.
Shovel the shit
into the microphone.
Yeah. Okay, so let's start it off with The Tommyknockers from 1993. This is an ABC original miniseries, and when I say miniseries, it was 3 hours. So they broke it up into 2 episodes, an hour and a half per episode, and they aired it 2 nights in a row. So this was the second miniseries, I believe. It was the first one for ABC, and then they decided, well, I think it was a decent success. I don't know if people critically said it was good, but a lot of people watched it, so they're like, well, we've got deals with Stephen King to adapt some of his works, some of his, not his most prolific ones or his most famous ones, but let's just adapt some of his other novels. And so they chose The Tommyknockers, which is Stephen King's kind of foray into sci-fi. Brief overview. Concept is small town in Maine. Check the box. Cast of characters. You've got the alcoholic. You've got the writer. You've got the rednecks. You've got the old man who's in touch with magic. You've got
the kids
that are have psychic powers.
Naturally.
Never explained. Just the same kind of bullshit that you'd expect from a crappy Stephen King novel, but. So concept is you got the town with the cast of characters, and one of the characters, the writer, finds this thing in the ground, which is they don't know if it's a ruin, they don't know what it is, but it
looks like concrete.
Right.
It's squares of blocks of concrete.
Just really the worst set design you've seen. It's like, well, how do we put design something? Well, I'll just put some hexagons on the ground
because it was supposed to be like a ship.
Right, so the concept is this writer finds this alien ship in the ground. They don't know exactly that it's an alien ship, but whenever they touch it, or not even if they touch it, it's giving different people in the town powers, like they're super smart, they can invent things, they have the ability to read minds all of a sudden. It's just very inconsistent. It doesn't really follow any rules. And then it goes, like any of these miniseries. This book, I don't think, was more than 300 pages. Oh. They have to extend it really long. And
how do you do that? You spend a lot of time on all the different surface level characters that are included. Mm-hmm. Yeah, like I said, it's just a smorgasbord of every basic personality that you can come up with, and then they just ran with that. Okay, he's an alcoholic, so he's gonna have all the stereotypes of an alcoholic, but not even really done well.
No.
And then you've got the cheating husband, Oh, he's just a piece of shit.
No redeeming qualities.
Not a goddamn one.
No.
Not one redeeming quality. He's ugly. He's sleazy. He's cheating on his really nice wife with his boss.
His boss,
At the post office.
The slutty postwoman.
Yeah, and the wife is just like, oh well, everything's okay. I still love him, and it's like almost has that abusive, like really done well abusive relationship. I know that sounds weird saying that, but like if she had just had some sort of like Stockholm syndrome or something like that, but instead they just make her seem ditzy.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I just don't see what's going on. Not I'm refusing to see what's going on. I don't want to admit it.
Well, I mean, of course, it's made for TV, so they can't really develop any of these characters. They can't have any stakes.
But that's all they spent. Like,
I know, but that's all they did was spend time on the characters, which is dumb, and they couldn't really
until they introduced the nice little special effects.
Oh man.
Oh.
Talk about early 90s TV special effects. They're horrible. And I
and they're off.
Yes.
Like they're just off. They don't put them in the right places.
Listen, man, I'm not here to defend Stephen King's It from ABC. It's not great, but there's some really interesting things that they do with that miniseries. Tim Curry is pretty good as Pennywise, and the effects are still, they don't hold up, but a lot of them are practical, and it seems like they took a lot of time with them.
Sure.
But this Tommyknocker's just like, shit, we don't have a budget. Let's just take one of his most basic stories and use these leftover sets from these other movies and then just film these characters for 3 hours.
Do you remember why how they explained that they're called the Tommyknockers?
Was it because it was an old legend in the woods? Or
there's no real explanation.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, because I forgot.
Like they're aliens, but they're called the Tommyknockers. Like, what the hell?
It's the idea is like, what can we make something that's innocent and stupid sound eerie? Well, let's call it something ridiculous, like the Tommyknockers or the Langoliers. Like, it's stupid. Like, there's a difference between calling something The Shining or, he had the power of the shine, which kind of sounds a little, kiddie or weird.
Yeah, when you say it like that.
But they pull it off to the point where it's like, oh, it's kind of eerie and serious. But nobody can say Tommyknockers or Langoliers seriously. Oh my God, turn your phone off. Come on.
I try to mute everything, and then
Way
all
to
of a
go.
sudden I get a phone call out of nowhere that I never ever get on this phone.
Nice, throw it across the room. Oh, you're gonna hit. Okay. Anyway,
there's nothing there.
They don't know that.
Okay, it's just, and man, that acting is
okay. So
horrendously bad.
So listen, you've got Jimmy Smits, who you remember from.
I remember from Dexter. He's in some law show.
West Wing, early NYPD Blue, I think, and then of course everybody remembers him from the prequels of Star Wars. He's Bail Organa. He's fine. He's not
the only halfway decent actor in that.
And then you've got Robert Carradine from Revenge of the Nerds. He's one of the characters, and he's awful. Like, there's a reason why he's like the less known Carradine brother or son or whatever. And I don't remember anybody else. You could say, what's his face from Creepshow is the grandpa.
Terrible.
Yeah, nothing. He doesn't do anything.
Remember when the old man was trying to get the cop was trying to get like a soda, and then the whole thing just exploded.
Oh yeah, because the spell that was falling over the town, they created a nitroglycerin vending machine.
Apparently, it's just like the only time anything like that happens.
That's where the budget went
for
that one effect.
Explodes. Yeah. And of course, the cop has a crush on the much more attractive older female cop,
mm-hmm.
and he's the guy from Beverly Hills Cop.
Oh yeah, that's right.
The bald one. Mm-hmm. And he's just like, no.
Yeah, it doesn't work.
Sorry. Small town, I get it. She doesn't have a lot of options, but she's a lot better than looking. And I'm not saying she's like super great looking either. I'm just saying he's not good looking.
No.
And it's just so cheesy. Everything about it it
reeks early
everywhere.
90s. There's really no redeeming.
Everywhere. And you would just sit here and watch these scenes, and you go, what happened?
Mm-hmm.
Nothing.
No.
Nothing occurred when the grandpa went to go visit one of the kids in the hospital or whatever.
Yeah, why was he in the hospital?
I don't remember. He was like unconscious. He's like in a coma or some crap like that.
All of a sudden, out of nowhere.
Because he's, I don't know. He's being affected by the Tommyknockers.
Yeah, whatever.
And there's this interaction. And I think the doctor comes in, or no, one of the cops comes in, talks to him for a little bit, and you just sit there and you go, that was like 3 minutes long. What did that conversation accomplish?
It padded the runtime so they can hit 3 hours.
I mean, that's exactly what it was. And this, we talked about it. It could be an hour and a half. This thing could have been 45 minutes.
Yes.
I mean, there's no real development.
No, this isn't The Stand where there's 30 characters we all have to develop and have interactions that are intriguing and these characters are fleshed out. All these characters they're just archetypes.
Yeah.
They're super surface level.
And they establish them right from the beginning in the first scenes that they're in. And then nothing changes with the characters. Like, nothing is developed. The relationships don't change. The guy's always cheating on his wife. He's always a piece of shit. She's always oblivious to it.
Jimmy Smits is always an alcoholic. He continues to fight through it till like the end of maybe the last 15 minutes. And his ex-wife or his wife, she like constantly shames him and then forgives him. And then like it goes back and forth. You're just like, what are we doing? It seems like we're going in a circle for 2.5 hours. And then there's the stupid climax, which of course is terrible. I mean, of course, they dig up the ship. They go inside. All these aliens are basically dead, but they had enough energy they were trying to manipulate the townspepeople into rebuilding the ship and bringing them back to life.
Batteries, I guess.
Yes.
Yeah. Which is, we're going to say this over and over again, right? Not a terrible concept.
No, because when we were looking up the synopsis of the book, the ending's really dark. Yeah. Like, the ship blows up, it kills half the town, the CIA comes in and they take people and basically bring them to they blacklist them like they've never existed, and then they cover it up and then in the movie it's just Jimmy Smits that blows up the ship and he sacrifices himself to kill the aliens, and then the rest of the town is just okay after.
And who was it? It was the older lady cop that was in one of those
battery
tanks or whatever. And they discover these 3 battery tanks. I think it's got the kid, the grandpa, and the female cop.
Yes.
And they do stuff with the kid and the old man, but they just nobody ever talks about how the cop's still in there.
They don't help her.
They don't let her out. She's just gone. She's just gone. Nobody cared about her. She's got nothing to live for.
No.
Her bald guy died.
Right.
He exploded.
Even though she didn't see him die.
He exploded trying to get what was the off-brand of the Coca-Cola in that movie?
I don't remember what it was called.
It was like Coca-Cola or some crap like stupid. That. Same exact logo, by the way.
Yes.
I don't know how they didn't get sued for that, which maybe they did. I don't know. But it is literally the same Coca-Cola.
I mean, why wouldn't Coca-Cola sponsor it? I mean, that seems like major airtime. ABC 2 nights.
Maybe that's just what Maine drinks. They don't drink Coca-Cola.
Right.
They're essentially Canada, so... They drink Canada Cola.
Don't be bad-mouthing Canada. They're not Maine.
Canada Cola.
Correction. Stephen King's Maine. Maine, on the other hand, is okay.
It was terrible.
Yeah, just boring. Really not funny.
3 hours.
Yeah. As much as we'll complain about the Langoliers being boring and stupid, at least there's some funny moments to that. But Tommyknockers is not funny. It's just boring. It's a shame. Like anything else, it's just okay, well, it's not a shame because Stephen King is one of the most prolific writers. He's written how many books? Over 50 at least. Mm. A lot of them, not all of, some of them are going to be good. Some of them are going to be bad. So it's natural that some of the adaptations are going to be bad.
I suppose. I mean,
especially when you
said, it's just kind of like busting out movies just because you have a contract with somebody or just because they're the hot thing at the moment.
Sure.
Or their books being turned into movies. This is the hot thing at the moment because like we talked about with the kid from 13 Reasons Why in
Open
House, that it's like, well, we just had to make it. So who cares if it's shit?
Mm-hmm.
Like he's on contract, so he's got to be in this movie.
Yeah.
And it just, it's a shame because I'm trying to picture what it was like back when this thing aired on TV, right?
Mm-hmm.
And do you think anybody watched that first half and was like, fuck yeah, dude.
I can't wait.
I just cannot wait till next week when episode 2 comes out. I can't wait for that next hour and a half.
No, because early 90s you had Jurassic Park, you had, a bunch of movies.
Bad when it came out.
Right.
This is not an issue. I understand we talked about special effects.
Sure.
And that they were bad back then. But I think it was bad when it came out. I think it was. I think that it was probably critically panned when it came out as well.
Probably.
Don't watch it.
If you do want to watch it, I suggest watching on 1.5 or 2 maybe. Fast forward.
Unfortunately, we don't have that luxury sometimes.
Right. This is an actual hard copy. With the DVD that flips over one side per.
We did go 1.5 after a while.
Yeah, because it was.
We don't have that luxury with stuff like Langoliers or something.
That we were watching totally legally. By the way.
Yeah.
Oh, hey, remember that moment in Tommyknockers where the older cop, she had a bunch of dolls in her. That's in the first 5 minutes.
And they became possessed.
Yeah, by the
and you have no idea why, and they don't do anything.
No, that scene is awesome though. That's I think maybe
the dolls didn't look bad.
Yeah, that was worth it. That was pretty cringy and funny, but the rest of it's bad.
I gave this a 2 out of 10.
You gave it 2 out of 10?
Yeah.
I don't know. What do you normally give 1 out of 10?
1 is reserved for the shit of the shit. I would argue that. I would argue that like I'd probably say Spring is a 1.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
I mean, because it
just
felt
I can't stand.
Right, because it felt like it went nowhere. This did have a progression of events, but it was just really slow and no stakes.
I was bored watching the Tommyknockers. I was almost angry watching Spring. Yeah, like that.
It was like wasting your time.
Somebody thought this was a good screenplay.
Right.
Oh man,
the guy who wrote it.
Yeah.
Anyway,
got funded.
Let's move on quickly because we've got more to cover. So.
Langoliers, 1996, 95.
So 2 years after Tommyknockers.
2 years after Tommyknockers.
ABC as well, I think.
We have, yes, I believe so. It was, in my opinion, a much more interesting concept than fleshed out, I guess I could say. I felt like it was more fleshed out, the idea, rather than it just being some sort of alien ship in Tommyknockers that's controlling people. The Langoliers had a concept that was actually like, I don't know, you felt like you could do more with.
Sure.
I suppose.
Right.
You could build the characters around the concept.
Well, yeah, because it has to deal with time travel, so that it's a little bit more like you can actually kind of like, expand it more. Tommyknockers is just like, it's just aliens. That's all it is.
Yeah. So this is This is something where they're all on a plane. They've kind of spent a good 15 minutes establishing these characters who, once again, are archetypes. You have the Australian/British hitman. He's definitely Australian, but he's supposed to be from Britain. Who his hitman-ness doesn't come into play really at all.
No, I guess they were trying to go for the whole like what's it called? Gray character, like, do you love him or do you hate him? Is he
the anti-hero?
Yeah, the anti-hero.
Okay, he's a terrible character. So they end up on this plane. All these characters. I want to say there's like 8 of them,
sure,
7 or 8. And they're the only ones that fell asleep
right
when they pass this rift in time, cut in time or whatever. And anybody that was asleep is now stuck in the past, like where nobody else is. And so then they fly into Bangor, Maine. Of course, it's Maine. And nobody's in there. And the majority of the movie takes place in the airport. Where then you start seeing it's supposed to be creepy because the guy that is essentially the antagonist beyond the Langoliers is a sleazy businessman that has major daddy issues, and he's the one that's like so messed up by everything that's happening, and he keeps having these flashbacks, and
he's the only character that's fleshed out.
Yeah, halfway decent,
right?
And I mean, overacted as hell, but I kind of enjoyed it.
He's the funniest part of the movie.
His overacting, but it's the same as the Tommyknockers, where these relationships just feel forced. They feel like you just groan when something happens, like the Australian dude and
blonde
woman that is the protector of the child. So the only other, important person in all of this is the blind girl who, God, she had the worst hair ever. Ever. Poor girl. She's much better looking as an adult, but they just, what were they doing giving her that hair?
It was the same thing in the Tommyknockers. There was that one kid that gave him the Coke glasses and that terrible bowl cut.
Yeah,
like,
guys.
You might as well make the kid have a sign that says "kick me" at school. I mean, begging to be picked on.
It just doesn't. The problem is that it's trying to center around this idea that the sleazy businessman, his dad was so crappy to him that he came up with this scary bedtime story, essentially, or anytime he did something wrong, it was like the Langoliers are going to come and get you, and he's always yelling at him. Like, it's like, which you could argue that he remembers only the yelling. Right. So he's like, usually as the viewer, you're like, oh my God.
Why are these two actors overacting?
Always yelling. I mean, the other guy's yelling too. And you're like, well, at least from the kid's standpoint, growing into an adult, the things that you remember that are traumatizing is your dad always yelling at you. Like, that's what you're going to remember. You're not going to remember when he was calm or nice or whatever. Right. It's always, and he's just, of course, like we said, archetype. He's just a piece of shit. He's like a terrible dad who's always yelling at his son because his son will never be good enough. That type of crap. It's like doesn't matter what you do, you'll never be good enough for your dad. He doesn't care. He's disappointed in you no matter what. Well, let's amp that up to 12 because that's what we have to do. Well, I sold off $43 million worth of stocks.
On purpose, so
it's all like jargon that everybody knows, and they're just like, I did it because I wanted to.
It wasn't stocks, it was bonds.
Sorry, my bad. See? I don't know.
No, you don't.
Anyway, so the time has stopped where they're at, and he's freaking out. He thinks the Langoliers are going to come kill him. He's believing that all these other people are the Langoliers as well, or work for the Langoliers.
Monsters.
They never really show what he sees when he sees
they only
other
show
people.
It once. Yeah.
And so he starts like, I don't know, he killed the black guy. First guy to die, of course. Black guy is first guy to die. And you're just like, I didn't even know this character.
I think that character had 5 lines in the movie.
Like, I feel really like I think I've seen him in other stuff. He's not a bad actor. No. It's like, would you like to have given him something?
I don't even remember his name. I don't think they even
he just gets stabbed in the back.
Yeah.
They walk into a fucking room and nobody checks behind the door. Just fucking stabs him in the back. Then he stabs the nerdy dude who gets with the druggie.
Oh,
she got the Rastafarian beret or whatever the hell that was, and she looked like she had, whatchamacallits in her hair, but dreadlocks, but it really wasn't.
No.
Another really awkward relationship. You
yeah,
know.
It's just they didn't build the characters because so I guess the main problem with this whole TV special is that the Langoliers is a short story from a collection of short stories. It's less than 50 pages, and basically the concept is they go through time, they're back in the past, things are not moving, like the people have moved on, but all the inanimate objects are still there,
right?
And they don't have, soda doesn't have any taste anymore. There's no sound. It's just empty void. And there's these creatures that eat up the remaining things as the past is consumed and time moves on. So the idea in the story is that we'll never be able to go back in time and see the falling of Rome. We'll never be able, I think these are quotes from the book, because it's already been past. These are the timekeepers that have destroyed the past because you can only live in the present or the future.
Not a bad idea.
Sure, but you don't need 3 hours for 50 pages.
So what did I write here? So that's the basic story. They end up the Langoliers end up coming. The special effects are hilariously bad.
It's amazing.
I mean,
it's worth it.
You look it up. I mean, don't watch it.
No, just watch
go
the scene.
Look a YouTube clip up of the Langoliers attacking the airport because it is so bad, and you can't help but laugh.
It looks like one of those
in amazement.
What was that program like late 90s, early 2000s, like maybe on Max, where you got to like pick an image and like cut it up with like
I don't know what the hell you're
what paint program was that, but that's what it looks like when you're drawing lines through like just MS Paint.
It just looks like anything from Windows 95, any of those games that were on CD. You plug it in and it just was so blocky and clearly they're trying to mesh it with real life, and you want to watch something do that really well and came out 10 years prior, go watch Who Framed Roger Rabbit.
Yes. Yeah.
I know that it's not the same effect.
Right, and there's much more money
because
involved.
This is their first attempt at computer effects.
Yeah.
And Who Framed Roger Rabbit was a draw,
literally they took the cells onto the footage, right?
But they did such a great job of it. Yes, there's flaws in that one. You can still see it, but it was fun. Mm-hmm. This is just a joke. Like, it's so bad, it's hilarious. Like, and you can tell that the actors, I know we didn't talk about this when we watched it, but you can tell that the actors were just told to react. Like, they're just like, okay, so in your upper left corner of your eye, look up there and just be in shock. Mm-hmm. I just need you to be in shock.
Yes.
Well, so what am I looking at?
Yeah.
Imagine like a testicle with sharp teeth that pixelate
and rotate.
I don't know if I can take that seriously, director person.
Tom Holland.
I don't think I can take that seriously. Okay, just try your best. And like they'd cut to them and they'd be like, oh my God. Because they like never actually interact with these things. They're always in the distance. And it's just so funny to watch their reactions because the actors had no idea what they were going to look like when they actually put them in there. And it looked like Mario Paint at a certain point when they started like cutting through the building.
That's what I'm
saying. You're like, oh, they're just erasing things.
Right.
Like all they did was just erase the airport. And then they start like so they're timekeepers, right? But they're clearly supposed to be like bad things. Like they're scary and they toy with the douchebag stock guy.
Yeah, also this should be the first time they've ever seen human beings in the past. They don't have eyes, it's just a mouth, but they react to these things like, oh, we got to eat them first. Like, has there ever been an instance where people were caught in the past?
Well, maybe.
This is not the first time they've gone through a rift or something.
But I mean, either way, like the way they describe the Langoliers and like what they do and what their purpose is, why does it make any sense that they would like play with that guy or wait or like because they're like chasing him around and you're like, just eat the fucking guy.
Yeah.
Just eat him. And then they're like, well, we're not going to eat the airplane. We're just going to eat the ground in front of it, but only a little bit, enough that it can still bounce past it.
Right. And take off.
Just because. Because that's what makes this movie exciting, except it's not exciting.
No.
And
the climax happens well, there's still 30 minutes left.
30 minutes left. We were convinced, because I don't remember the last 30 minutes at all. Either it did not air the first time I watched it because they knew it was garbage and they cut it out, or I just didn't watch the last 30 minutes. I don't know. But they would do these things where they're like, oh, we're going to take off. And the only halfway decent part that has tension is when it cuts in front of them. And then instead of showing the plane struggle to get across this area that had been cut off, they just show the actors like, we're taking off. And you're just like looking at their eyes. Like that's what's supposed to invoke the tension in me, is the tension in the characters.
Right.
That's not how that works.
No.
Give me something else. And you're just sitting there going, like, when they landed, too, it was the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you're just supposed to feel tense because the characters are like, oh, well, I got 500 feet to go. Oh, my God, what's going to happen?
You don't have, the plane's not actually moving. They don't have the budget to film the plane.
So it's all dialogue, and it's all static shots of the actors. And it's just, it's so bad. And then, so then they take off, and you think it's the end of the movie. Like, so we thought, it's just 30 minutes on this totally legal version that we were watching. And we just thought that there was 30 minutes left.
Of like what? Dead air?
Of the dead air. You know, just thought it was a clip that went too far, and they just left it on there. No. There's 30 minutes of them in the fucking plane. Talking. Building more relationships that nobody gives a shit about.
Meanwhile, 3 characters have died.
So stock guy, blind girl gets stabbed in the chest, like straight up in the middle of her chest, and she's just like, "Don't kill him, we need him." And then she fucking uses the stock guy.
Yeah,
she's like, she's like psychic.
Yeah, she's telepathic for no reason.
Say why? Yeah. She just is.
Well, I don't know if you know this, but any person who has a disability, they have a secret special ability.
So she calls the stock guy to like distract the Langoliers. Like she sacrifices him so they can leave, and then I think she just dies on the plane. Yep. I guess I missed that part because we started fast forwarding at about an hour into the second part. So like the last 30 minutes, we did not bother finishing. It was so boring and bad. And we just watched like the last couple minutes, which I guess
they arrive in the future.
They find the rift. The Australian guy sacrifices himself because somebody has to be awake, I guess. And the only way you live is if you're sleeping.
Right, to get back through. So they figure out that they go into the future because they think it's the past again because there's nobody there, but it's all quiet. They're like, wait a minute, things are different. It's the future, so we just wait for time to catch up.
How the fuck do they know this shit?
Right.
They're just making this stuff up as they go.
Well, the mystery writer, who's one of the characters, he knows exactly what's going on.
Well, I'm just and then somebody asks him a question. He's like, well, I'm just an author.
Yeah, they couldn't like have a scientist on board. Anybody? A theoretical physicist?
I don't know.
Why can't he be a character?
Well, you sure had your fucking mouth open the whole rest of the movie, and all of a sudden somebody asks you a question. It's like, well, I'm just a writer. Fuck you, Stephen King. We get that it's you. Get it? What did I write down? The weird science nerdy dude looks like Napoleon Dynamite.
Yes.
Got that? We had the classic line from the stock guy of, "Do you know who I am?" That's a classic. Talk about archetypes. We use really, like generic, stereotypical dialogue as well. I wrote down that it was slow at the 30-minute mark, which is bad because the whole thing was slow. So that must have been real slow.
Yeah.
Crazy cat lady, blonde lady needs to get laid really badly, apparently.
They have that romantic moment over the blind girl as she's dying.
Yeah, as she's fucking stabbed in the chest, she's like, could you do this somewhere else, please?
Yeah.
There's an entire 747 or whatever that I need you to, like, go fuck on. I think it's somebody says a rehab instead of coming back from rehab. I think they said coming back from a rehab.
They said no. The one girl she was quoting her mom or something like, I really need a rehab. No. You need to go to rehab.
I'll take 2 rehabs.
2 rehabs, please, not 3. 2.
1, 2. Bethany rips off her beret and falls into the crotch of Napoleon Dynamite.
Wait a minute, her name is Bethany?
It is her name. It's Bethany.
Oh, and the blind girl's name is Dinah.
Yeah, she just like, we get like a tiny bit of turbulence that everybody that's been on a plane has felt this turbulence, and it's like, it's go time.
Yeah.
Like, rip the beret off.
She passes out,
right
full face into his crotch. It's amazing.
What the fuck? It takes 15 minutes to fucking land the plane when it's like 500 feet above the ground.
Yes.
Oh, and the Rice Krispie sounds that the
that's right. The Langoliers sound like really scary sound. What does it sound like? Like Rice Krispies when you pour in the milk.
That's scary. That's super scary.
It's a fucking line.
And it doesn't sound like that.
No.
It doesn't sound like that at all.
No.
Don't have that line then. Well, we recorded the line and we filmed the movie before we actually created the noise and the Langolier designs. Right. I don't know. What else you got for this thing?
Nothing. It's better than the Tommyknockers solely because of how ridiculous the Langoliers look and the guy that plays the businessman.
And that's sad
Yeah, because there's nothing in
There's
the movie.
really nothing else.
It's just boring. It's just
Yeah.
people in an airport for most of the movie.
And yeah. Oh, that ending. When they're in the airport and then people do arrive.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden some kid's like, oh, it's the new people or some shit like that.
Yeah.
Like he sees the people appear basically. They like fade into existence. And the kid's like, oh, look, it's the new people. And the dad's like, stay away from those creepers, children. And then they all run off to hang out together afterwards.
Yeah.
And all I could think was, go home to your families.
Yeah. You just survived.
You survived some weird ass time rift.
Interdimensional time.
What the fuck? Oh, let's go hang out. Let's go play cards together, guys.
Yeah, we made it through it, guys.
Fuck me. Okay. All right, so you can take the other Stephen King movies. So we watched Pet Sematary, the remake, 2019, and Pet Sematary 2
from
from
1992.
1992. So which one do you want?
I don't want either of them.
Which terribleness do you want? Go ahead with Pet Sematary 2.
You want me to take 2?
Yeah,
Okay.
take 2.
I mean, it's been a while since I've seen the first one, but I remember it being okay. I'm a big fan of the book. I think that was one of my first Stephen King books I read was Pet Sematary. I don't know why. I think it was like my parents thought it was going to be less bad than other ones that are appropriate for a kid, but it's actually one of the more fucked up ones.
How is that appropriate for a child?
It's not.
A child who most kids attach themselves to animals at a very young age.
Right. Now, this book is pretty ballers. Bonkers, not ballers.
It's pretty ballers.
It's pretty ballers, dude. New term. Now, I really like the book, and whatever. I mean, of course, it's the second movie, Pet Sematary 2 from 1992. It's got Edward Furlong. It's the same year as Terminator 2, so I guess he just needed another movie to pad out that year. You've got Anthony Edwards from ER, and you've got Clancy Brown from, most famously known as the voice of Mr. Krabs and SpongeBob. He's also the Kurgan in Highlander and a bunch of stuff.
Starship Troopers,
that's right. There's nothing in this movie. It's like, oh well, the first movie had a book and a concept. This movie, it's like, what if this takes place after in the same town,
place
with
same cemetery,
another cemetery that brings things back to life.
We'll talk about the beginning first.
Oh, right.
How did this all start?
The amazing beginning. Okay, so there's this actress.
So ridiculous.
He's filming a movie, and Edward Furlong is her son, and he's on set, waiting for his mom to get done with the filming for the day. And it's this horror movie they're filming. She's supposed to grab onto this, Count Dracula coffin in this castle, and there's water underneath her. And underneath the set, there's this electrical outlet that is misfiring or not lined correctly, and so she does a take. It's fine. She talks with Edward Furlong, and just at the end of it, she's like, "Son, I love you," which nobody says in real life.
I'm gonna see you in about 2 minutes after this next take.
Right.
Which, by the way, I believe it was take 35
or
some shit like that. My God, how long?
Yeah.
How bad is she that she can't fucking do this right?
Right. And anyway, so she's like, I love you, and then guess what? She dies.
Oh shit!
In the most ridiculous way possible.
Oh my God. His reaction.
She grabs the metal bars on the coffin, and then the electrical outlet misfires and electrocutes her in the pool, and she shakes back and forth. It looks like in Home Alone 2 when Marv grabs onto the water faucet.
Yeah.
And he's whoa, shaking back and forth. It is hilarious. It's so good. And Edward Furlong screams like he does in Terminator 2, the same exact scream, but the severity or the stakes are not there.
I thought she looked like the girl having the sex scene in Showgirls.
Oh yeah, in the pool
and
with
just flopping around with Kyle MacLachlan or whatever. If you haven't seen that clip, go look that one up on YouTube.
Oh, that's amazing.
Actually, I don't know if it's on YouTube. She's definitely naked, but it's the worst looking sex I've ever seen.
It's hilarious.
And it's in a pool.
It's parody level. This was not... It feels like it shouldn't be.
Yeah, it's like a joke.
It feels like it's a Naked Gun bit.
It's a joke.
Yeah. Anyway, so the mom dies. Edward Furlong moves with his father, Anthony Edwards, who's a veterinarian. They move to the small town in Maine where they're from. Clancy Brown is the sheriff.
Young looking Clancy Brown.
It's
you
kind of
weird.
Definitely
know it's him, but he's young.
And whatever. There's some high school bullies, a bunch of bullshit.
Assholes to be assholes.
Right.
Another Stephen King
one-dimensional bullies.
Yep.
It's got to be check that mark, you know. Just a lot of just nothing. There's this movie, like, it just does the same thing that Pet Sematary 1 did, but with not convincing or interesting characters.
And Edward Furlong is awful.
He's awful. And listen, I love Terminator 2, and I think Edward Furlong does a decent job as young John Connor. You know, it's not a very, very versatile role, but I think he plays that punk kid pretty well. In this movie, he's not even trying. I think half his lines are 80-yard.
Yeah, well, it just doesn't work because it's a different character.
Right.
The stakes are completely different.
Yeah, and it misses the whole point of the what the book was going for. Like dealing with loss.
The bully just to be a bully.
Right. I don't know. The Clancy Brown stuff is kind of interesting because he dies.
He's by far the best part of the movie.
Right, and they bury him. He comes back to life, and he was started out as an asshole, and he's still kind of an asshole when he's undead, but he's also kind of goofy and weird and nice.
But
and
it's not even about the Pet Cemetery. At this point, It's just bringing people back to life.
Yeah.
Like the first one, we talked about this, where it's about loss and what you're willing to do to be reconnected with somebody.
Right. The whole line, dead is better. Is it better to leave the person dead and remember them, or what is it, making the sacrifice to bring them back, but they're not the same,
This just felt like they were trying to reproduce like Evil Dead comedy because he comes back and he's not just murderous. He's very aware of what he's doing. So if you want to say that they're like possessed, like the idea is that by burying them in that cemetery, then you're allowing their bodies to be possessed by a demon, then that's fine. But that's not what happens.
No.
Each one of them has a different prerogative and things that they want to happen.
Yeah.
And in the first one, I got the impression that they're just completely different and they want to kill.
Yes.
He blatantly just talks. He's just having like full-blown conversations. He's laughing and he's just creepy.
Yeah.
And he's good at it. Clancy Brown is good at it, but it's just more like, what the hell is this?
There's no rules. There's no setup. It's just whatever. It's just the concept. And Anthony Edwards, like, I never really watched ER, but man, is he bad too.
He was terrible.
Yeah.
I wish they'd had the mom in it more because she was actually halfway decent.
What mom?
The one that dies.
In the beginning. Yeah, she's fine.
Because she comes back at the end.
Right,
and then just stands there and dies.
And kills herself, essentially, which never was the concept in Pet Sematary. The whole idea is that they were brought back to life, so they go to kill whatever. They're like just possessed zombies, I guess. I don't remember. There's no, like, if anything, it would want to preserve itself and keep going. It's just a visual. It's stupid.
It was a mess.
Edward Furlong changes character halfway through. He's not consistent. Like, nothing makes sense. It's just a bunch of like, we gotta have weird scenes and shocking scenes.
Creepy Edward. So what does that mean? Well, just be creepy, Edward.
Lower your chin.
And do
keep your
creepy
eyes.
Smiles.
Yeah.
Except they're not creepy. It's like a joke. And like, there's no reasoning behind why he's doing what he's doing all of a sudden.
No.
I gotta bring my mom back. Where is all the moments where you really miss your mom?
They've also screwed that up in the remake. We can talk about that later, but there's no moment. There literally is 30 seconds where you show their relationship. In the first movie and in the book, the reason why Lewis brings back Church the cat and Gage his son is that the whole first half of the book and movie, you show their relationships, and then when they die, you're like, oh my god, he has to deal with that. The opening of Pet Sematary 2, she dies within the first 5 minutes, so there's nothing.
So it moves back in with his dad.
Right.
It's a mess. The whole thing.
Music, amazing.
Wow.
It's so bad. I don't even know like if they're actual songs by bands, but it screams early 90s. Like, not even good early 90s. Like, I don't know.
You just start playing and you go, what am I supposed to be feeling right now?
Yeah, during the sad scene where people die or the dog dies, and it's just like
electric guitar.
I wanna be crucified like Jesus Christ.
Be killed like JFK. and then they do this scene where they're coming out. They have this like high angled long shot of outside of the school, and they have this like classic violin playing, and like the bullies start like being a dick to Edward Furlong again, and they're still playing the fucking violin, like sappy kind of violin music, and you're like, what is happening?
It feels like a bit. It feels like a
Turn the
sketch.
music off.
Yeah.
Why are you still playing this? This is like watching The Bad Seed.
Yeah.
That's an inside joke. You guys don't get it.
Yeah,
You'll never know
No.
how bad it was.
Oh my god.
It set us up for life how bad this version of The Bad Seed was.
Oh
Anyway.
man.
We can talk about that for days.
Yeah.
All
right, Andrew, take us through Pet Sematary 2019.
Pet Sematary 2019. We've got Jason Clarke. We've got that's it. That's all I remember.
John Lithgow.
Okay, John Lithgow. Best actor in this whole movie? The fucking cat.
Yeah.
The cat was awesome.
Yeah.
They actually did a good job with the cat because it was like all practical. It felt like. I mean, if it wasn't, then good job on them.
Right.
It's terrible. It's fucking bad, and I knew it was going to be bad, but I didn't realize it was going to be that bad. Like, it just they took this idea, and I've seen the original Pet Sematary just like you have, but it was a long time ago.
Right.
And I just remember it not being great, but I knew what the intention was.
Sure.
And I felt some things from it. And as we kind of referred to in Pet Sematary 2, things just kind of happen just because that needs to be the end game. We need it to get to a certain point.
Yeah.
And instead of building up the tension, building up the relationships at the right pace, you're just supposed to assume that that's what's happening. So it just starts off. They've moved to a new house. The pet cemetery is basically in their backyard, right? And like the dialogue is ominous. Nobody asks any questions about why people say things that they do. And it's basically the same thing as the original was, except they take a super generic horror, Hollywood horror turn at a certain point where when the kid actually dies, instead of it being the boy, it ends up being the daughter, who apparently he's got a better relationship with because she's older, I guess.
Sure. She's
a terrible actress, by the way.
Yeah, awful.
And what happens is, you're supposed to feel something like the character, Jason, forgot his last name already.
Jason Clarke plays Lewis.
You're supposed to be like, oh my God, he's just lost his daughter. It's the one he's feels the closest to, and he's got an alcohol problem, except none of this stuff has really been established when it happens. And so the scene happens where she dies is they're both on the street. Both kids are on the street this time around.
And that basically that what's that called? Switch, or that
it's like a bait and switch.
Bait and switch is only the only way that works is that if you've seen the original.
Yeah.
If you haven't seen it, then you're like, I don't understand what's going on. Yeah. It only works if it's relying on people.
But it's like we talked about. It's not just that you think that it's going to be the boy, right?
Right.
That would be the correct bait and switch. Is like how you mentioned, instead of showing the girl on the street beforehand, you only show her with the cat because Church has come back and he's on the street, and that's why she's out there. That the only reason she's the only time you actually see her is right as the truck swerves out of the way to try and miss the boy.
Right.
So Jason Clarke saves the boy, and the truck reacts and tries to miss him anyway, and ends up flipping over, and the trailer or whatever flies into the girl.
Yeah.
Okay. A truck that's going, 50, 60 miles per hour, semi truck, thing flies off, whacks the girl into the ditch, and there's no blood.
No.
Her shoe fell off.
Yeah.
And he goes over and like holds her body, and there's nothing. Like there's no deformation. There's nothing. And I'm like, listen, I don't want to see dead kids.
No, but this movie's rated R,
but you're supposed to be making me feel something here.
Right. So this movie might as well have been rated a PG-13. They probably would have made more money, because there's nothing in this movie other than like
A couple fucks.
saying the F word, or that one scene when
And then with the Achilles, probably.
the Achilles tendon being sliced, and the one kid at the beginning of the movie that gets hit by the car. There's a bunch of gore effects, but yeah, the movie's pretty tame.
It's very tame.
Yeah,
and we talked about this when we watched this, but the two biggest aspects in our opinion was the relationship between the father and the kid that ends up dying, whether it's the boy or the girl, depending on which version you're going for, right?
Mm-hmm.
And how that causes him to swan dive into depression, and then gets to the point to where he would bring this person back alive because he knows that he can bury them in the pet cemetery.
Right.
And it makes sense in the original. And the relationship between the wife and her sister.
Right.
Which her sister had some degenerative bone disease
Yeah.
that caused her to be all deformed and creepy looking. And instead of her being this human character of a sister that as a child she was just so creeped out by, she ends up being just like this horror creature that you're seeing too.
Yeah.
And you're like, well, okay, so maybe that's her point of view, but like, she's just a freak. Like
they reduce like in the book. Okay, so the sister's name's Zelda. She has this problem, and the whole point of that character, that flashback, is it shows that the wife, she basically let her sister die by accident, and she's haunted by that, and she also has to deal with the fact that her son dies, and then she's trying to keep her daughter and keep her marriage afloat.
Yeah,
so it's all these
should be the most messed up. It's her,
right? And it's supposed to be this whole family drama in addition to the question: how do you deal with loss? But then in the movie, in this remake, they just basically reduce it to jump scares.
Yeah,
it's pathetic.
It's just supposed to be creepy every time they show that sort of scene. Like, or she starts like seeing it more often, and it's like part of just her daily life now.
Right, rather than
Not a dream.
It's not a dream. It's like a hallucination.
She just sees things.
Never once did they establish that she's like crazy or has problems, other than she's haunted by this.
And we talked about this too. Like, how cool would it have been if it was clear that they established that her character was still struggling with this, but she's gotten past it by the strength of her husband and her kids, and being able to like have this family and have kids that are normal and fine, and then her kid dies.
Yeah.
And not only does her kid die, and then just show how much that shatters that and brings everything back. But not only does her kid die, but her husband then goes and tries to bring the kid back.
Right.
Also causing the kid to be, if it had been done properly, if she'd gotten hit by a truck and completely mangled, then when she gets brought back to life, she would also be mangled.
Right.
Like her sister.
Yes.
And so how much fuck with that character? I would have followed, like, the wife would have been a much more interesting follow to me.
No,
because
she's
of
just
her past.
reduced to she's the wife of the main character, and she's haunted by her past. That's it.
And we talked. You talk about like why in the original it worked, like the tension that was built and between the characters of the neighbor and Lewis after the death of the kid.
Yes.
And how they build that up properly.
Right, because in the book, so I think in the original movie, the guy that played the patriarch of the Munsters, I can't remember what his character, or the actor's name, but he does a really good job in the original movie. He's probably the best part of the first movie. But like the whole point in the book is Judd, the neighbor, he buried his dog when it died. He brought it back. The dog was bad, and they ended up killing it again because it was like evil. And he sees.
They don't really talk about in the.
Barely.
They just say that.
So John Lithgow was like, we just buried it because he was bad.
Yeah.
But the whole idea is they build up this relationship between Lewis and his cat Church, and Church is like his other son or whatever. And the cat dies, and he's distraught. And the neighbor says, "Well, we also wanted the cat was also close to the kids. We don't want the kids to grow up too early. We need to keep them, keep them comforted, right? So." Let's bring the cat back. It may be a mistake, but I see how close you are with the animal and with your families. Maybe this is the maybe this time it'll work. They bring the cat back. There's something wrong with the cat, obviously. And then they have that little thing in the back corner, but they never really, like, the cat doesn't do anything evil off the start. It's slowly built over time, and then eventually the kid dies, and Lewis is just distraught. He's like, he doesn't believe in God, so he's just like, I don't know what to do. I can't save my marriage or my other child. I'm just gonna become an alcoholic and, you know, end in this, like, depression. But then he thinks, well, wait a minute, I can bring my son back and everything will be okay. Yeah. And Judd, the neighbor's like, don't you fucking do that. Right. That is, you can't do that. That's not gonna, look what the cat did. Look at what the dog did. Yeah. This is not gonna end well. And basically Lewis has to drug Judd and go dig up his dead son, who's all mangled and fallen apart because he got hit by a truck. Yeah. It's so much more impactful. And even in the first movie,
properly paced it.
Right. In the first movie, they couldn't show all that, like, because obviously audiences wouldn't respond well to that. So, but there is something to be said. Like, I don't have to have a lot of gore in my movies. I don't have to have a lot of, like, disturbing images, but there is something to be said about impact and severity of things. Like, if you want to tell a convincing story or something that lasts, like, why not do it?
Well, don't have the kid hit by a fucking truck if you're not going to go all the way.
Right.
Like, if you're telling me a kid got hit by a semi,
yeah,
then because I'm supposed to be feeling the weight of that.
Right.
Why would you go halfway?
Right. It's the same argument with that we were talking about with Hereditary. The reason why that movie works so well is that they knew people, they were betting that people weren't like, they're not going to do that. They're not going to go all the way. Oh, fuck. They went all the way. Yeah.
It fucked with me.
Yeah.
And I sat there and I go, no.
And it wasn't gratuitous. No. It was just enough to show the impact on that family. If anything, Hereditary is probably the better remake of Pet Sematary. It's not the same, but it's, you know.
It's just
it's worthless. It's just annoying.
Well, and then in the remake, he just sees the neighbor at the funeral, and they kind of have a look, but it doesn't really.
They don't build anything, and then all of a sudden he decides to like this whole movie is reliant on you seeing the first movie or reading the book. Yeah. It is not made for anybody else, and we were talking about this like with these kind of movies. Like, what is the audience? Where are they going to try to make the money? They're obviously trying to make the money off people who had seen Pet Sematary or read the book.
Quick cash grab.
A bunch of like a couple bait and switches, like the one with the kid, the Achilles heel slicing. Like
with the Achilles heel slicing, felt like the character had watched the movie, original,
right?
Because he knew that there might be a kid under there ready to slice his fucking Achilles.
So he kicks the bed, and
isn't that what it felt like?
Yes, and then he immediately gets it sliced when he's going down the steps.
At least with the truck, it felt like it was us that was being.
Right.
You know, like you just created
the audience
a different
rather
situation.
Than the character.
John Lithgow kicks the bed because he's like, I saw this shit. I knew that. I know what happens.
I'm not going to become that guy. Yeah.
Oh, sucker. I'm not under there.
Yeah.
But it's...
the twist at the end is dumb. It's just basically like, we got to be different because it's the remake. And it's horrible.
They all die.
They all die. They all become a possessed family, except for the young kid who you assume at the end he's going to get turned to.
Well, yeah, because they're like walking towards the car that he's hiding in, and they're going to pull him out because they're going to be a dead family.
Right.
That's the
dead
twist.
Is better.
They're going to be a dead family. That means nothing to me.
No,
because you haven't told me why anybody would do that.
No, and that misses the point. It misses the point of dealing with loss is that the difference between the living and the dead. Like, it just doesn't do anything.
Well, then they, like, there's just so many moments where you're rolling your eyes. One of the big ones is when the wife is getting killed and the daughter is sitting there. She's dead already, and she's just like, "You killed your sister. You're the reason. Right. She's in hell because of you." And it's just like all these things, and you're just like, this would be so much better if she was just like, "Mommy, I'm doing this because I want us to be together.
Right.
I want you to be with me."
There is something to be said about subtlety and like doing the opposite of what people will think. Like, make the character like, that's how it worked in the first movie. Gage, the kid that dies and comes back, he's all like, first I play with Mommy, then I play with Judd, now I'm gonna play with you. Like, It's creepy, it's weird, but it's also like, it makes sense because he's a little kid. Like, all of a sudden having the kid be like, "I'm Damien Omenchild and I whatever," like, ugh.
And it sucks because one of the biggest problems with relying on that is that the child actor's not good.
No, she's god awful.
And so I don't know what to say, because you have these moments where she, like, for example, the cat's going fucking crazy, right? The cat's dead or undead or whatever, and scratches her, and then she's being put to bed by her dad, and she's like, can you not put Church in this room? He scares me.
Yeah.
You want to try that line again? Sophie, you want to try that one again? That's not how you would feel.
No.
That's not how
your cat
you're scared
that you
of the
love.
cat. It just scratched you.
Yeah.
And it's freaking you out. You want to try that again? No, I think we got it.
Oh man,
I think we got
That's
it.
gold.
I think it's
one take.
Don't
Yeah.
call me one take Sophie.
Yeah.
I don't know her actual name.
Yeah,
I'm just making it up.
That's
That's a popular one.
All
All
right.
right, so listen.
there
Go
are-
watch the
there
original.
are
Read the book.
Fantastic Stephen King movies out there, and those are some of the best movies I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Some Stephen King movies.
We
We just decided to watch some not great ones and talk to you about why they're not well. And I would be interested to go back and watch the original again.
It probably doesn't hold up nearly as well, but it's probably better.
Pacing must be better.
It's got to be, yeah.
because it's just bad.
Yeah.
The new one.
Oh, and the new one, and the effects, it's awful. The green screen is terrible. Like, it feels like the movie was made for less than $5 million.
So
So they have
this
this
set,
set,
right,
right?
that
That takes up probably
like,
like I don't know, 50
square
square feet.
That's supposed to be like the burial ground.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then the rest you can tell is
like
completely green screen. So they just have the set and then green screen around it.
So
then they add in the effects later, which looks like fucking Game of Thrones or on
Winterfell
Winterfell bullshit. Like
super
dark.
You
You can't fucking like it's.
Yeah, they use like
it
fake-
doesn't look real.
They use After Effects mist to like
Yeah.
keep things like blurry, and it's
It's like I'm expecting to see like a castle in the background. Like
Yeah.
it's not.
no,
There's no way.
Yeah, it's dumb.
How are you not able to match that to make it look like real night?
Right.
Okay, so
Excuse me.
Harry's got a nice little surprise for you.
Oh yeah.
All five of you listening. I asked that Harry do a rap this week. I didn't give him specifics, but he's doing a rap on everything.
Just quite a bit.
Because we did watch other films.
Yeah,
we did watch
so-
some other films.
we'll
We'll go through those in a second. Wrap this thing up for you.
Do you want me to do the rap and then you do your beautiful haiku after?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. I haven't come up with a rap name or my mixtape yet.
We'll get you a name.
Big H, Dirty H.
We'll call you Millennia 100.
Oh, nice. Good one.
Yeah.
Fuck off. All right. This is gonna be the first time doing it live, debuting it live. I got a beat I created myself.
You guys are all listening in on the
yeah, this-
debut.
Hot take. This is gonna
Rift.
this is gonna be awful. I'm sorry,
Hit it up.
Mom, Dad. This does not represent me. Oh, fuck. Here we go. Here we go again, watching shitty horror movies. I would have had a better time if Freddy Krueger had blew me. First we watched MTV Sphere with a guy named Chad, a big pile of shit who was named after his deadbeat dad. Then we saw Shockwaves with a bunch of Nazi amphibians. I look forward to the sequel where they fight some American Indians. You know, like Blood Quantum. I'm not racist, look up that movie.
It happens.
Now onto the Stephen King mini-series. Movie so unexplainable you'll be coming up with your own theories. Tommy Knocker starring Bear Logana, Jimmy Smits. Acting so poopy should have been called Jimmy Shits. Then the Langoliers with a dumb blonde bitch named Dinah. Her acting was so stinky I wouldn't even touch that vagina. Finally capped it off with 2019's Pet Sematary. A movie so worthless it made me want to rewatch Hereditary. It's a miracle that we got through these sober. But at least they didn't each give us big old floppy boners.
Are they boners if they're floppy?
I'm sorry.
Isn't Dinah the child?
Yeah.
You're touching a child's vagina.
Well,
you
she's
son of a
older
bitch.
now.
It's okay now because it was 1995
Right,
then.
right.
Okay. Well then.
Oh my god. I'm lightheaded, dude.
Terrible. Yes. Oh God, that was terrible. Who did those tits?
The nipple placement on those.
So he covered a little bit of what we talked about. I'm gonna do some haikus for these extra films that I watched. He didn't watch every one of these, but most of them he did. So we watched Shockwaves, 1977.
Yeah.
Made with low budget. Clearly spent on the makeup. I forgot a lot. Then we watched a fantastic film last night called The Chamber. 2016, baby. Holy shit. Boring. High budget concept, no cash. All talking, no fun. Then we hit up Robin Hood Men in Tights. I watched this one on my own. It was back when I really liked this as a kid. Still semi-funny. More basic than I recall. Doesn't quite hold up. And then we watched Severance, which, by the way, is kind of the best movie that we watched.
Yeah.
2006.
Yep.
Surprisingly fun. Subverting expectations. Go give it a watch.
There you go. That's good.
So, and then we talked about MTV. That's it for my haikus. But we can hit these up real fast. Shockwaves. There's some really cool parts in this. Like I actually really like some of the shots.
Yeah.
Underwater. Like they'd you'd see a character for 15, 20 seconds walking along, and all of a sudden they just have a shot, and there's this, like, they look into the water and there's somebody staring right back at them. Definitely not overall, it's not very good, but I thought the makeup was pretty good.
Yeah.
The bad guys were okay.
Yeah. I mean, it's Nazi zombies underwater. So
acting's not great. We watched The Chamber last night. That was fucking terrible.
Yeah, really bad. Really, really bad. And it's a shame, too, because it's not a bad concept. Of course, we keep saying that, but no budget. Literally, the whole movie's within the submarine and it's just terrible dialogue.
Yeah, you want to do a movie inside of a tiny submarine, but you don't have the budget to film any of the stuff that causes the issues that occur inside the submarine, like outside in the water.
Right.
There's no shots of the submarine in the water.
I mean, it creates no tension at all. Yeah.
Well, and I mean the logic, the character decisions, it's all stupid. You have 3 actors who are playing Americans that are all British, and the girl is the best, but every single one of them slips.
Yep.
And some of them, the 2 guys, they slip real bad.
A lot.
Like real bad into British. This thing garnered a nice $1,300 in profit. Not profit. No, I'm sorry, in gross.
It's just gross, yeah.
I don't know. It was bad. It was a mistake. Yep. It was a mistake, and I'm sorry.
Yep, thank you. Thank you for that apology.
So bad. Robin Hood Men in Tights. I touched on that real fast. It doesn't. The jokes. The problem is I remember everything.
Yeah,
and everything's the same.
And they're too topical. Like they're not timeless.
And they take too long.
Yes.
Some of the jokes take too long to hit their note. But some of it's still really funny.
Yeah.
I do think that, actually, and then one of the scenes that I didn't really understand as a kid or didn't think was funny as a kid was actually one of my favorite scenes this time around, and that's the one where the guy's acting like Don Corleone.
Oh yeah,
and he's got the Clint Eastwood character, and
it's Don
DeLuise. It's actually pretty funny.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's good. It's not
his best. No. And it's probably not his worst. Dracula Dead and Loving It was the last Mel Brooks movie, and that was pretty bad.
Yeah, I didn't see that one. Anyway, we hit on Severance. That one was real fun.
Yeah.
I like that one. It's a little slow in the beginning, but once you get rolling, it's not what you think it is.
No,
and
very
things
clever.
Are not going to happen the way you think they are. And I wouldn't call it scary. I didn't really feel scared. It was more funny than anything.
Yeah.
But there was actual a little bit of tension here.
Sure.
And there.
It wasn't just all gags and jokes. The characters dying, you're like, oh my God, they're actually, ooh, okay. It's pretty, it's
It does not start off that way, though. You have to give it at least 20 minutes because it does come off very generic in the beginning, and I think that's on purpose. Like they want you to feel it's generic so that they can kind of switch things up.
No, it's a cool director. He also directed the Black Death movie with Sean Bean. I like both movies. Check them out. I can't remember the guy's name.
The only thing I wrote down because I stopped writing when we were watching Severance was escorts confirmed at the beginning because he like orders escorts online.
There's a lot of good reincorporation, like a lot of clever like throwaway lines you thought they were throwaways, but they're not. They're callbacks and they're done well. And
it's British.
Yeah,
it's British humor.
It's just clever.
It's clever.
Yeah.
And then MTV Fear.
Oh boy,
which we gave not even a full episode. Did we watch a full episode?
No. Well, it's just in shitty quality, so you can't even watch. I mean, the show's bad.
So the show's already in really bad quality, like 360, and then they use cameras on the people. That are like before, 240.
Yeah, before GoPros were a thing.
And so it's this ridiculously bad quality. And it's all about these people get sent. Every episode, I guess, is a different group of people. It's like Fear Factor, but
haunted places.
They go to a haunted place and they have to do a dare for a certain amount of time. Like go stay in the room where the electric chair was,
right? And at the end they get a cash prize.
Yeah, and people are off in the fucking room flickering the lights and making noises and shit like that. And the acting, you can tell that they're getting paid to act a certain way.
Right.
It's
bad, and it's a shame because like the first episode that takes place is the West Virginia State Penitentiary that I've actually been to, and that place has been used in a lot of movies. It was, I think, most recently used in Out of the Furnace. It was Civil War prison that was decommissioned in the early 90s because the cells were too small and considered inhumane. But that place is really creepy.
Yeah.
It's really cool.
Piqued my interest.
And yeah, if they're going at night in pitch black and recording themselves, it'd be creepy. But at the same time, ghosts don't exist.
And you're on a goddamn television show. Right. They're not gonna let anything happen to you.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
They get sued a high hell. Yeah. Like,
probably the funniest part was the calm black character. Like, I hate to speak to stereotypes, but like clearly was like a paid actor, because any normal person or any like even me, like I go in and be like, fucking nope, I'm out of here, man.
Oh, what was that noise? Yeah, peace.
I'm out, done.
Peace. Yeah, I don't give a shit about your $3,000 or whatever it was.
Well, it was $2,000, so $3,000 is a lot.
That was funny. Yeah, that was funny because it was like 2002 or 2001 or something like that. And you sit there and you go, that's not that much money.
No,
get a fucking job. Just get a job, man. Oh, I need this $3,000. It's gonna change my life. What's your life like?
Yeah, it looks like you're like in college. Most of the people like, what is that gonna do?
I'm gonna get my crack rock. All right.
Oh, fuck.
I think that's it for us. We're gonna watch some more shit, good or bad. And parting words?
No, go watch Severance.
Parting words?
It's good.
Go watch Severance. Yeah. You know what? If you take anything out of this and Harry's shitty rap,
we're burning this. This is not airing.
It's go watch Severance because it was fun. I actually really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Fun time. Do not watch anything else we talked about except for maybe Men in Tights, but most people have probably already seen that.
Right, or the one scene from not Tom and Argus, Langoliers. The rest is not worth it.
Yeah, that's YouTube.
Yep, exactly.
So 1 out of 8. Oof. That's
Yikes.
bad. Oof. All right. Later.
Bye.